What is your best, and so we never did that again story? We had a pool in the backyard growing up, so I often had friends over swimming. I kept asking my friends if they thought I could jump into the pool from the roof. It seemed clearly doable. One day I climbed up there and did it. I landed dead center in the deep end. And when I got out, all my friends were blown away. Then my dad came rushing out with a set of jumper cables and beat the living shit out of me in front of all my friends. And then he told all my friends to get off his property. Rode a bike in the city while on acid with a friend. Most of the way it was fine, I'm pretty sure. What I do remember is this: I got to a stoplight and forgot to unclip. Fell over. In the middle of moderately trafficked road. I then had 0 feet to help me stand up. And my legs couldn't remember the lift twist pull action that requires an unclipping from the pedals. So I was laying in the middle of the road doing what looks like trying to pedal a bike sideways. Somehow I survived. And nobody called the cops about a dude literally tripping on a bike. So we never did acid and rode bikes again. We don't throw things into the ceiling fan anymore. It started with poker chips and jumped to cutlery way too quickly. I used to have a 93 Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra I got when I was 20 and my grandmother passed away. One day my friend and I were cruising around. And we stopped in this parking lot and decided to try doing reverse donuts. Since it was a front wheel drive. It's worth pointing out I'm 6'3" and my friend is 5'6" or 7. I put the car in reverse. Cut the wheel and punch it. We're on a slight slope. The car whips around quickly. And then just starts shuddering sideways and leaning really hard. I look over. And look up at my friend. As his side of the car is way higher than mine now. We just stare into each other's eyes for a brief few seconds that feel like eternity. Mouths open silently in terror as I let off the gas and the car stops shuddering sideways and rights itself. I can't remember specifically what was said, but it was something along the lines of, "Well, that was terrifying. Let's never ducking try that again." Capital I. Not we. Was waiting for a ride when I decided to balance on one of the cement posts that prevent cars from driving on the sidewalk near the entrance of a building. I stuck the landing, but unfortunately I too badass to properly tie my skate shoes. My foot slipped and that mortar hit the little soldiers dead on. Overwhelmed by the worst pain I have ever experienced to this day. I rolled over in the fetal position. I did not see that coming. But eventually I collected myself and stood up. That's when I felt it. Like that first drop of rain before a hurricane touches land. I felt a trickle down my leg. Sheet. I opened my pants and examined Mr. Johnson. No damage done. I checked out his pals. And that's when I saw it. My oysters had been shucked. If there were ever a sight that no man should have to see, it is the sight of his own testicles on scrotum. I had torn a hole in my sack big enough to fit my thumb through, and as I lost a lot of blood, got a magnificent view of my left ball in all of its pale white glory. I got 3 stitches and, thank God, no serious damage was done to my boys. After 3 weeks and slew of painkillers, I was fully up and running again. So no, I will never try to balance on a cement post again. TLDR, testicles are snow white and your scrotum is full of blood. Dart. Until I woke up in the middle of the night when my Molotov cocktail had to work its way out the other end. Needless to say, the next 12 hours dealing with those effects were far worse than the stomach bug. I also smelled like garlic for about 6 days. I was taking a dump at my school. Just minding my own business. When some other person walked into the bathroom and sat down in the stool next to mine. Things were silent for a few minutes until I heard a whisper coming from the other stall. "Hey. Do you like bobs?" "What the? Oh. Duck it." "Fine. I'll bite." Of course. I heard a splash that sounded off. Then the guy left his stall. "But," he said, "then you're gonna love this." The pungent odor of sheet that was always prevalent in school bathrooms got slightly stronger while he washed his hands and left. I got finished with my business and opened the door to my stall. And on the wall before me was a magnificently drawn pair of DD titties drawn in the tile with pure sheet. And then the principal walked in. Thankfully I was able to convince them that I didn't draw the art on the wall. However, I'm never taking a sheet at school ever again. While drunk and slightly stoned with a group of friends, we decided to throw an empty 2L Coke bottle, lid screwed on, into our campfire. It sat there for 2 seconds then exploded. Blew up half the campfire, sending red hot debris flying everywhere. Singed a few leg hairs off and I fell backwards out of my camp chair. Never doing that again. Edit, you guys have way more explosive stories than mine. Also, I'm enjoying all these camping stories. Brings back a load of memories. We once tried to carry the fire that was burning in the downstairs fireplace to the main floor fireplace in a large cardboard box. We got it halfway up the stairs before the alarms went off. We did manage to make it look like someone was trying to smoke ribs in the fireplace before campus safety got there. But we didn't ever try moving the fire again. Edit, details. We lived in a house, huge mansion owned by the college, on campus, and one of the running jokes in the house was that it cannot be burned down due to the college intentionally making this house fireproof, since we, alum way before my time, actually did start a rather large fire in the old house. Lots of accidental experimentation led to a really cavalier attitude toward fire safety. Got quite a few, but here is one of my favorites. A friend and I were at his place mucking around. As you do. Well, we found a trapdoor spider nest. A trapdoor spider builds a tunnel as a nest, and, as the name suggests, they put a trapdoor over the top. So we were using sticks and things to try to get her out, but she would pop a leg or two out, realize what was happening, then duck back out of sight. My brilliant idea? Burn her out. So we grabbed a can of WD-40 with a long hose on the nozzle, tucked it into the nest and sprayed. For ages. Then sprayed a fuse to about 50 centimeters away and got ready. This was going to be fun. So we lit it. Now, the last thing I remember seeing before hearing an almighty bang on the fence behind me was a rather large, angry, burning arachnid flying past my head. Screaming. The noise was so loud his parents came running. We turned and saw a 20 centimeter wide scorch mark with bits of leg still twitching stuck to the fence. We got in big trouble off his mum, but his dad looked kind of proud. TLDR spider cannon. I once drank a whole bottle of Baileys when I was about 14. Somehow got home. Got to bed. Fell asleep. Woke up to a sort of whipped cream mountain of Baileys and carrots. The smell was horrific. So I ended up adding to the pile almost as soon as I woke up. Never again Baileys. Back when MATs were legal, my friends and I were building a fort out in the woods and there was a tree in the way. So we strung up a bunch of MATs around the trunk and ran away. Needless to say, never again. No idea how we didn't die. Drank most a bottle of tequila at 11 AM while camping. Ended up naked walking along a gravel road in the middle of Pennsylvania. I got the strangest looks from people driving by. Rented a mechanical bull for a stampede party, Calgary, Alberta. Couldn't put it in the yard because it wasn't completely flat, so we set it up on the parking pad. First dude riding it got thrown off. Missed the pads and flew into the alley, landing on the concrete gravel and grazing pretty much everything. I ate a special brownie on a school trip in Washington, DC. I shared some with my friend. She ended up passing out. I wasn't so lucky. It first hit me on the metro, where I proclaimed to my dean that I'm the fastest woman alive while pretending to run in front of the windows. We went to see a movie, and I got an enormous popcorn, Raisinets, and a iced tea. Next thing I remember is stuffing my face and having the sudden realization that I'm in the balcony, and scared of heights. Ended up crawling out of a movie theater and falling down some stairs before having the worst, most extended panic attack of my life. I refused to move for 3 hours and my entire class had to wait outside the movie theater for my dumb ass to simmer down. I had to be carried back to the hotel. So yeah. No more brownies for me. A friend of mine and I were detonating homemade explosives for sheets and giggles in a field way north of the town of where we lived. It was all pipe bombs. We had fun blowing up random sheet and examining the shrapnel and remains. Someone abandoned an entire Barbie playset in a house my friend was renting and we shot it up with pellet guns and blew it up. We called it Beirut Barbie. On time right after we were finished we had to climb this tall hill to get back to our car, and right at the top of that hill was a police cruiser with just one cop inside. He has this confused look on his face and asked, "Did you guys hear a loud explosion?" No. Okay. And he left. And my friend and I figured that was our good luck all used up. We never did it again. Drunken Roman candle fights at the cottage. My friend was a couple centimeters away from losing an eye. He got really grumpy for some reason and refused to stop for breakfast on the way home the next day. So there's now a ban on fireworks at the cottage in fear of missing out on bacon and eggs, and I guess losing an eye. We were in a bar and talking about sex when the Altoid BJ talk came up. After a few more drinks my wife and I went home and I was really disappointed to find out we were out of Altoids. I thought why not improvise, so I found some Listamint patches. They are a dissolving strip of Listamint. My wife proceeds to put them on my big dig like paper mache. It felt good for a minute. Until it didn't. The night ended with my big dig in the sink. And worst of all, no BJ. So we never did that again. Once an old boyfriend and myself decide to make a mold of his pen 15 with one of those make your own dildo kits. We didn't think too much about it. Which we should have. Because he didn't shave his pubes and it was all stuck in the set rubbery material. I then had to use scissors to get in between his skin and the mold and clip 2-3 hairs at a time while having bursts of uncontrollable laughter. Eventually he was freed with only psychological trauma. He didn't find the humor in it for quite some time. 4th of July. Playing around with those reloadable mortar tubes. If you put 2 projectiles in a tube at a time it mostly works. Adding a third does not. At least one of them will come out big dig-eyed and go off near ground level. Possibly after traveling distance normally safe for spectators in a random direction. If you set off the projectile upside down you get a cool jet of flame and then a shower of sparks. This places undue stress on the tube. The second one will blow out the base of the mortar. Not as bad as the first experiment at least. We weren't invited back. Curiously. The stated reason for not inviting us back was pouring gasoline on a pile of firecrackers and lighting it with a Roman candle. That one seemed perfectly fine to me. I tried to blow out a flaming metal marshmallow stick by bringing it up to my face and blowing it out. It did not go out. It made contact with my face. My flesh melted. Tried to grow pot. Put plant outside. Got high and saw a helicopter flying above our heads. Got scared so we never did that again. Pulled, pinched, and punched my pen 15 when I was about 12. It started feeling really good. Finally. I felt this sensation and some kind of white liquid came out of my pen 15 that was slightly sticky. My pen 15 began to shrink back to normal and I felt really tired after this. So I never did that again. When I was a junior in high school. One day me and my friends were bored and had the bright idea to get some habanero peppers and see if we could eat them. I went first. And ended up drinking half a gallon of milk. Eating half a loaf of bread. And throwing it all up before the stinging went away. And so we never bought habanero peppers again. Met my GF at a bar. Left at 2 AM pissed drunk. We both drove like idiots. Raced past a undercover stakeout in a residential neighborhood. They said we blew their doors off. We both got arrested and went to jail together. Even though we eventually got married and are living happily ever after. We'll never do that again. We made a small noose to tie our friend's big dig to a post when he was sleeping. Then we scared him so he would run from the post. A friend and I were driving up north. And instead of taking the usual freeway route, we decided to take a bunch of back roads. My grandpa had recently passed away and we had yet to sell his van. So since it was roomy and whatever, we decided to drive that. So we're in the middle of butt duck nowhere running on empty and we finally come across a gas station. Come to find out, my grandpa had put a lock on his gas tank plug and I have no clue where the key is. The gas station attendant doesn't have a crowbar and I'm pretty sure was a bit suspicious of us, but told us there was a small mechanic shop down the road. We find it, and these rather shifty looking backwards fellows greet us, eye us up, and, fortunately, decide to help us. So we're able to get gas and make it up there after continually getting lost. No reception and no physical maps. What's normally a 3-hour drive took at least 8 hours. We don't remember. We were high as duck. Never again. TL. Doctor took a road trip in an unfamiliar vehicle on unfamiliar roads. Country folk encounters and great amounts of time lost. Could have been worse. Edit, grammar and summarizing. Myself and a couple of friends were going to a convention and decided that since I was speaking at said convention and had to bring quite an elaborate costume, we should probably stay at a hostel nearby. So naturally we book the cheapest one we can find, get all our shit in and go enjoy the convention. Back at the room that night we notice a small wooden hatch on the wall above a bed in the room. Being the curious little duckers that we were, we decide to have a look inside. It was sort of jammed shut, but we got it open and were greeted with a long dark dank corridor about the size of the door. It was pitch black, all we had were our phones for light, but we got in and had a look around. At the end of it we found a pile of bundled up bedclothes and sheets. There were some crumbs and sheet lying around, and needless to say we were a little freaked out. Alas, it was not over. At the end of this corridor was another hatch on the right hand wall. It was locked from the other side, but we were able to squeeze a hand through a gap in the wood and get it open. To our surprise we were in some person bedroom. Not a group one like ours, we were in the next building over in some guy's room. There was a laptop left on and a TV on in the corner. Needless to say we noped the duck out and left. Scared the crap out of us. This person could get into our room at any time, and so we never did that again. Had a few too many beers and decided I could stick the landing if I jumped the entire flight of stairs. Probably 10 total. Landed and immediately fell over to one side. Woke up with 2 very sprained ankles. We didn't have mortar for New Year's, so we made one out of a pizza box. My life flashed before my eyes when the firework didn't take off. Exploded about 20 feet away. And the crackling after effect crackled right next to my ear. Meaning I was literally inches from being hit in the head with a white hot report. Yeah. We never did that shit again. I was at a company picnic with a friend co-worker a few years ago at a city park. The trunk of my friend's car had all sorts of stuff in it. Everything from a Batman costume to a set of golf clubs and a guitar. We were bored, so we decided to drive some gonads. But it was a relatively small park, so we had to find somewhere to hit. He put on his Batman costume, irrelevant really. But he did dress up as Batman, and set up a tee at the home plate of a baseball diamond facing the turnpike. The highway was probably a few hundred yards away and we're both terrible at golf, so we figured it wouldn't be a problem. I went first. The first and only hit was perfect. Quite possibly the best shot I've ever taken. Straight as an arrow and way further than I thought I could hit. It was also headed straight toward the cab of a semi-truck going 70 plus mph down the highway. I missed the truck by 10 feet at best. We haven't hit golf gonads from a baseball diamond near a highway while dressed up as Batman since. The second semester of freshman year of college I had made a great group of friends. We would hang out playing video games all and every night. Then log on to WoW from about 11 PM to 6 AM. I would go to sleep when my roommate woke up. On weekends we would drive around our crappy college town. Hit up the mall. See a movie. Whatever. It was the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I ended my freshman year with a 1.5 GPA. Never again.